Hey everybody, Yankee here. If you've been following my channel, I've been trying to upgrade my camera lately, and I asked for people to suggest what I should get. Well, I got something. I got a Canon EOS R50 mirrorless DSLR, and the picture quality is amazing, but I'm having a problem. When I plug an external microphone into it, it just goes wah, and that's not good. For the tens and tens of people that actually want to be able to hear me, that ain't gonna work. I know a lot of people would probably prefer that over being able to hear me, and then if they could just not see me, that'd probably be perfect. For those people, I was like, just don't watch my videos, but for some reason they still do. But like I was saying, that ain't working yet, so I'm going to be limited to webcam stuff for a little while. But I wanted to make this video today because I was reading a story that I think is so chock full of lessons that I wanted to bring it up. There's just a lot of lessons in this video. It's a story about someone, a 28-year-old man in California, who tried to rob a gun shop with a hammer. And he was then shot and has now died from his injuries. So a lot of lessons here. There's the old don't bring a hammer to a gunfight lesson, which I think most of us already knew. There's lessons here about the lethality of people who are armed even without a gun. There's a lesson about how firearms are the great equalizer, even if the bad guy has an advantage. And there's also a lesson here about how stupid criminals are and how you do not usually face prosecution if you use a firearm in self-defense. So let's go over the story here and let's point out all these lessons. Like I said, this person attacked a clerk at a gun store with a hammer and tried to steal a gun they were showing them. The clerk, surprise, surprise, was armed and fired upon him, and he later succumbed to those injuries and passed away. So a lot of people here are going to say, well, why do you shoot a guy that didn't even have a gun? A lot of anti-gunners say, he wasn't a deadly threat. A hammer's a deadly threat. A baseball bat's a deadly threat. A knife's a deadly threat. Up close. If you're up close with someone, all those things are just as deadly as a gun. In fact, more so in some ways. Especially if the assailant already has a physical advantage over the person they're attacking. Like they're bigger and stronger. Let's say they're a healthy 20-something-year-old. The clerk is a smaller female or an older person who's maybe a bit infirm. They have a physical advantage already. They could probably already kill you with their own hands and then take the gun or whatever they're trying to steal. But having a hammer, that makes it like they can do it instantly. A hammer, a bat, something like that. It's not like the movies where you hit someone in the head with a hammer or a bat and then 15 minutes later they wake up and like, oh, I have a headache. Where am I? Who tied me up? That's not realistic. Hit someone in the head with something like that, you're usually going to kill them. If you hit them hard, they're going to die. So that makes you a deadly threat. You don't have to have a gun. Up close, you're just as deadly a threat. So that's very clear in this thing. The whole idea that, oh, if we didn't have guns, we wouldn't have crime or violence. We're stupid. That's stupid. That just means people would be able to have an advantage with something like a hammer or a knife. If they know you have nothing, well, then they just got to find weaker people, use their club or their pointy stick, and they've got an advantage. That's why there's been murder and crime throughout history before guns were invented. All someone has to be is bigger and stronger, and then have another advantage, and they've got a sure win. But in this case, like I said, the clerk had something that negated that advantage, and that's a gun. He was probably a weaker person, but he prevailed because he had a tool that took away that advantage of that bigger, angry, violent person who had a weapon, a deadly weapon. He had a firearm, and he knew how to use it. So that right there is another lesson. Guns are the great equalizer. And they aren't usually used to perpetrate a crime. They're used way more often to stop a crime. A little old lady, an old man, a young mom. All these things happen where they use their firearm to not be the victim of a crime. Way more than guns are used in crime. Even the FBI says that. Back before they were told to quit paying attention to that, quit recording that, because it doesn't look good for the anti-gun groups. So that's another lesson right there. Guns are the great equalizer who more often save lives than take lives. Also, another lesson here is how stupid are criminals, like I said, because who brings a hammer to a gunfight? It's a gun shop. You expect everyone in there's going to be armed. So I'm guessing this guy is not a winner of any Einstein Awards or anything like that, he's not going to be winning anything now. He won his prize. He played a stupid game and he won a stupid prize. So that's a lesson there. Never underestimate how stupid people are and how violent they'll be to get what they want. Also, another lesson here, like I was saying, is you will not be prosecuted if you are in a good self-defense shoot. The police said in this case, it's obviously a case of self-defense. He was defending himself against someone with a hammer. He's not facing any charges. There's no actions taken against him. A lot of people are under the false assumption that, oh, if you ever use your gun for self-defense, be prepared to lose it, never get it back, and probably have to go to jail for a little while. That's not usually the case. 9 out of 10 times when someone uses a gun for self-defense, they don't face any charges. They don't have any negative repercussions. They've already suffered enough. They were the potential victim of a crime who had to defend themselves and maybe hurt someone that they didn't want to have to hurt. They didn't initiate the confrontation. So there's no reason to punish them further when they didn't do anything wrong. And that's usually the way it works. Unless you've got some sort of overzealous prosecutor in an area where he's up for re-election or something and it's a very anti-gun area and he thinks this might further his campaign, generally charges aren't going to be brought because it's pretty hard to turn that into a successful case. If someone was presenting a threat to you and you ended it, you didn't start the confrontation, you weren't somewhere you shouldn't be, like you're at work or home or whatever, district attorneys are going to look at that and be like, I can't make a case out of this even if I wanted to. And you're not going to suffer any repercussions. Just like how this guy, the police said, nope, no crime was committed on his part. We're not investigating him. He did nothing wrong. He'll suffer no consequences. That's pretty much, I'm paraphrasing there, but you understand. And that happens all the time. I would, like I said, at least 90% of the cases I've ever seen, the person who was actively defending themselves, no problem whatsoever. Didn't lose a gun, nothing. That only becomes a problem when you're in questionable circumstances. Were you somewhere you shouldn't be? Did you know the person? Did you do something to get the person there? Did you initiate contact with the person? Did you escalate contact with a person? Those things, if those can come into the argument, well, then you might be facing some problems. But generally, if you're just somewhere you're supposed to be and someone attacks you while you're doing what you're supposed to do and you did not initiate the conflict, but you end it, no problems. As long as that person actively presented a threat to you. You can't say, well, he walked up to the counter and he was a dick, so I shot him. But if he was swinging a hammer at me, yes, you can shoot them because they are a deadly threat. And you will not usually suffer any consequences, like I said, if you're the person who did not initiate it and you were not the one committing a crime. So, like I said, a lot of lessons there. Don't bring a hammer to a gunfight. Don't rob a gun shop and not expect people to be armed. People are deadly with or without guns, especially if they have hammers, ball bats, etc. Guns are the great equalizer. If you're someone who's smaller or weaker than other people, doesn't matter. That gun puts you on an even footing with them. And then maybe skill will be the difference in who survives instead of size and strength. Actually, how you perform with your firearm. And then, like I said, if you're in the right, you usually have nothing to worry about. So don't put yourself in situations where the circumstances are murky or gray, and you'll be okay. So I just wanted to relay that story today because of all those lessons there. I think that they are things that most of us already know, but they're things that we need to have loaded up to use in conversations with people who don't know it, don't understand it, or want to refuse it.